Thanks again for joining me. I'm Patrick Schmitt and welcome to day 6 of my 7 days of Prosecco. Our penultimate session is focused on quality as I answer the question, who makes the best Prosecco? Now, before I share my opinions on the top producers, it's important to point out that Prosecco starts out life as a wine. And, like any wine, there is variation in quality depending on how much care has been lavished on the product's creation, but also where it comes from. The vineyard's location has a direct effect on the quality of the grapes. And you need good grapes to make good wine, and you need good wine to make good Prosecco. I've already explained some of the words that feature on a bottle of Prosecco that give some clue as to quality, and these are based around source area, such as the 4 letters DOCG, which signify that the grapes used for making the Prosecco have been grown in the hilly heartland of the region, as opposed to the larger and flatter DOC. Also, in connection with the letters DOCG, you'll see particular place names, from Arzolo to Valdobbiadene and Conegliano. These are all areas capable of producing great Prosecco. But that doesn't necessarily mean they do. Prosecco quality is also connected to how the grapes are handled in the vineyard and the cellar. And some growers and producers are better than others. Certainly I've sampled DOC Prosecco that tastes superior to higher priced DOCG examples. So please don't assume DOC Prosecco is always the poorer cousin. With that in mind, I'm going to share some particular names to look for, starting with some brilliant value DOC Proseccos. And how do I know? For almost a decade now, I've been tasting hundreds of Proseccos each year as part of a sparkling wine competition called the Prosecco Masters. Because the Proseccos are tasted without any prior knowledge of the producer, it is a completely unbiased and independent tasting. And as I've just done this tasting for 2020, I can give you my views on the best Proseccos on the market right now. But before I do, I should add that while there's nothing wrong with the Proseccos bottled by supermarkets under their own name, one can generally enjoy a superior experience with producer-branded Prosecco. So, having said that, for a good value option, I recommend a Prosecco Spumante DOC from Zonin called Cuvee 1821. It's extra dry in style, which means that it has a bit more sweetness than you find in the rarer Brut style of fizz. And while it costs a little over £10, it delivers plenty of fresh, ripe, typical Prosecco fruit, so peach and pear, and a touch of citrus zest. Another good value bet is Bosco de Cermioli Prosecco Spumante DOC, which is also extra dry, but a touch sweeter than the Zonin blend. It's a similar price, but delivers a bit more richness and ripeness, a touch of apricot in this fizz, along with the usual pear-like flavours. Then for a brilliant value DOCG Prosecco, I highly recommend Maschio del Cavaliere Valdobbiadene Prosecco Superiore DOCG Rive de Colbeltaldo. As a Brut, this is quite dry by Prosecco standards and delivers more fresh fruit than sweetness, meaning that it represents a serious style of Prosecco for a surprisingly affordable price. It's under £15. What about if you desire a really crisp style of Prosecco? Well, I suggest an extra Brut from the Arzolo DOCG, which is made by a boutique producer called Giusti. This extremely rare style of fizz has almost no sugar in it whatsoever, but still has plenty of ripe, peachy fruit, so it doesn't taste in any way bitter. On the other hand, should you want to head in the other direction and have something indulgent, then I recommend a sweet style from great Prosecco house Villa Sandi. In particular, its Valdobbiadene Prosecco Superiore DOCG Rive di San Pietro di Barbozza. Labelled dry, which means that it contains more sugar than Brut or extra dry, it's noticeably sweet in taste. But because of the aromatic, fresh orchard fruit flavours, the drink still refreshes. And should you want something that tastes and looks amazing, then there's a brilliant option for you called Bottega Gold. Housed in this bottle, no Prosecco does bling better than Bottega. But don't think that it's all style over substance, as this fizz has repeatedly proven to be a gold quality product too, with plenty of peachy fruit, a lovely orange zest lift, and a persistent dry finish. But who is the best Prosecco producer of 2020? While we had plenty of names pick up top scores in this year's Prosecco Masters, there was one producer that stood out for the sheer quality of its sparkling wines, and that was Andreola. Picking up 4 of the 5 Masters awarded this year, the ultimate accolade for the very finest samples, it proved an outstanding player in the Prosecco category, leading the charge with its focus on Rive Proseccos, which are bottled to reflect the quality and personality of special sites in the region. And finally, what is my best Prosecco of 2020? That is a Cartizze Prosecco from another brilliant producer, Bisol 1542. Hailing from carefully tended vineyards on the prized slopes of Cartizze, it is packed with so much personality. From ripe notes of pear and peach to zesty aromas of lemon, peel and orange blossom. And while sweet and creamy, it gives a final impression of being bright and cleansing. All it needs is something to serve it with, perhaps an apple tart or a plate of parmesan. And please don't forget that fine fizzy wine and food is a wonderful combination. And in the case of Prosecco, you have a great set of food matching qualities. The product has freshness from the bubbles and zesty acidity, and richness from the ripe fruit and residual sugar. Put those 2 facets together, and you have a drink that won't be overpowered by strong foods and will clean the palate in preparation for another mouthful. So, with that said, it's time for dinner.